Trust me now.
Hello everybody, it's Nick Hebley with Reptilinks. We're back for our third video segment, which is going to include basic how to feed Reptilinks. We're not going to get into any sophisticated methods of transitioning. This is just what you're going to do to start when you get your product, and 90%, 95% of these animals are going to take right off the bat. And so I just want to give you the basics on how to feed initially when you get your product. So as a continuation from our last segment, boxing or unboxing and storing your product, we have our links here. This is assuming we're going to feed 15 animals or so. We've let these thaw in the refrigerator and then let them sit at ambient temperature for a good 5 or 10 minutes. They're still a little chilly, so I'm going to show you how I warm those up very quickly. But yeah, we have our links that were nicely repackaged. They all look good. They don't have any freezer burn on them or anything. And we're going to use those in a minute here. I also want to cover just basic tools that you'll need to feed reptiles. And by all means, if this is review, fast forward, whatever, we have to make these videos for people that are just starting out in the hobby all the way through the most advanced. So I want to try to cover the whole spectrum. Please do not feed by hand. Okay, I shouldn't have to tell you guys this. I've had a ton of people work here that think they have to do that and they want to be macho and everything. No, it's common sense. Use a good tool. Use a good adequate length feeding tong, okay? So as far as feeding tongs go, you can hit up Midwest. You could go to a reptile expo. They always have this stuff for sale there. If you're feeding a small animal, if you want to pan in on this, 12-inch tongs are usually pretty good. If you're feeding hatchling carpets or hatchling animals up to something that's 3 feet long, they're strike distance. You don't have to really worry about getting tagged or whatever. So something like these are going to be fine. If you're feeding some of the larger animals that have a strike distance that can come out of the enclosure on you and easily hit your hand, if you're feeding a 10-foot python with a 12-inch tong, what's going to happen? Well, you're maybe holding a link or a rodent or something that's below ambient temperature, and then you have your nice warm hand right here. The snake or the lizard or anything that you're attempting to feed is going to grab your hand over the prey item pretty much every time. The biggest tongs that I use generally, and these are from the largest species, are 24-inch tong. I would stay away from this kind if you could pan in on this. If you're going to get 24-inch tongs and you're feeding larger animals, or you just feel safer feeding with longer tongs, with some of the smaller animals, which is completely fine, I would stay away from the hemostat style. That's the kind that grips. There's many different reasons for this. One is when you pinch this thing together, it can catch your skin, and it will tear your skin every time, and it hurts. It hurts like crazy. And there's a lot of pressure and sometimes a lot of weight on the end of these. The other thing is, you have a strong animal that grabs onto your prey item, whether it's a link or anything else, and these lock, and then you have to worry about unlocking them to get the animal, to get your prey item free from the tongs. So I would definitely stay away from these at the larger sizes. Throw those things in the trash. Now, the 12-inch, this is fine. They're more rigid. You're not going to pinch yourself. They actually come in handy because you don't have to worry about holding your smaller prey item. So those are perfectly fine, and most of the feeding tongs that you find in the smaller sizes, like the 12-inch, are going to have a hemostat style gripper. I prefer straight. Sometimes for feeding hatchlings, a curve to your hemostat is nice. You can get different angles and things like that, but really it's not going to make that big of a difference. This is the style tong that I use. It's got a nice big hole for the thumb, but it's not too big to where it puts too much pressure, and you can fit as many fingers through the other side as you want to get leverage. It does not have the locking hemostat mechanism, which gives you a lot more control, and it allows you to let go of your prey item right when the animal strikes, if that's what you need to do. With the links, they can break if they're being hit really hard. So that's very important to have a quick release. It's very important to do with smaller rodents too, because the tissue will split apart and you'll have a mess. Always have a good hook. I always open up enclosures with hooks. I never do it with my hands, especially during feeding time, because the animals know they're going to eat. If you need to manipulate a prey item, anything, always have a nice little hook for smaller snakes around that's light and nimble. For medium-sized animals, if you get into some of the larger species, you want a nice, lightweight, balanced hook. You'll never know when you're going to need it. You always want that by your side. That's a nice hook, right? Nice big hook. No, that's not a big hook. This is a big hook. This is, I think, Midwest distributes these. This is called a Gentle Giant. Has more surface area. This I use as a blocker, so you can't get to me if I don't want you getting near me. Essential to have when you're dealing with larger species. So it's always fun to grab the cameraman too when they least expect it, and you know. But anyhow, back to it. I'm going to do a simple feeding demonstration. I'm feeding a carpet python. I think it's a zebra, and it's going to be eating an 8 to 12 size gram link. That is the smallest of the traditionally cased links that we make. It's a little bit cold to the touch. It's a little bit moist. I'm going to just take it and warm it up in my hand, get any moisture off it. You can see it's pretty good to go. I think this is a rabbit link, so this would be a nice meal. When you're feeding snakes in particular, and lizards, it's not so important with lizards. When you're feeding our product, you want to grab the link straight on about halfway down, like so, okay? And what this enables you to do is point the link straight at the target animal. If you grab it from the side like this and point it, they could hit it on the side or whatever. What your objective is to quickly transition these animals is to get the snake to grab on one end or the other. Obviously, in this case, it's this end. So I'm going to point and orient the link towards the nose of the animal. Okay? Now, if the animal's positioned in such a way where I have to come from the side and I can't be doing this and bending around, then you take your link from the side and then you're pointing it at the animal's nose like this. You want to shorten the striking distance, and you want the animal to grab from as close as possible and take the end of the link in. That's going to increase your chances right off the bat of getting your initial feeding to be successful. Okay? So basically what I'm covering here is link orientation. I just covered that. You want to point the link towards the animal. If the animal takes no interest, there are other things you can do. You can do a side-to-side motion. I'll try to demonstrate that very quickly when I have this guy out. The other one's going to be a first-third tap. So most snakes are sensitive when they're touched on the first third of their body from their nose. So if they're not giving you a feeding response, and you know they're not really giving you what you need, you can tap them to get their attention. You don't want to do it too far down, it's going to spook them. You want to do it in the first third. It's right on the side of the neck. I'll try to demonstrate that as well. These are the basic techniques that you use to elicit a feeding response out of pretty much all commonly kept snakes. Lizards are different. You can play around with them, you can touch their size, there's many different things you can do. They're easy to get to eat for the most part. I want to make sure people are getting their snakes to eat our product, most importantly. Another method that we use is constant pressure if you're not getting a feeding response. So you're going to take the link in, you have your orientation forward, and you're going to put a constant pressure on the nose of the animal. It's going to try to move away, okay? You want to keep constant light pressure and track. That's what I call it anyway. Tracking. So what you're going to do is that animal is going to touch on the end, it's going to try to move back and forth, pull away, and you're going to follow where that animal is to keep a constant pressure. If you keep that constant pressure, it's going to open its mouth, and it's going to start consuming the link. Alright, so here we go. All carpets are not like this one. There's a lot of misconception that goes around about carpet pythons. They're all mean and this and that. They can be bitey as babies. I would say, you know, out of every clutch, there's one that's going to be extra feisty. this is that animal. I didn't produce it. But anyway, so if you could pan up here, Guinea, I'm going to grab my link. I'm going to orient it forward, okay? I'm not going too far up. Oh my, did you see that? He bit at me. Oh, he's going to do it again. Okay, so you orient forward like this, and I'm going to point the link straight at the animal, okay? If that doesn't work, I'm going to do a side-to-side motion. This works great with carpet pythons, and I'm going to go back and forth on the sides like this. It kind of hypnotizes them, and it lets them know that they're going to eat, okay? The other thing is I could do a side tap, and that's going to be right where that curve is there in the animal. So it's going to be on this animal about, I'd say, 4 or 5 inches down on the neck, maybe 4 inches. Okay, so that could be used as well. Constant pressure and tracking, I would point the link right at the animal. If it's not striking, I'd keep a constant pressure and then I would move with the animal. Okay, so that's how, those are the basic first methods I'm going to use to get these animals to eat. So in this case, we'll see what this guy's going to do. Shortening the striking distance. He's got the scent. Okay, now he's doing obviously we have him out, so he's doing a defensive strike. So I'm going to try to lure him in to bite, to go into a feeding response. Okay, now he's getting a little closer. I'm going to do side to side. I'm going to do a tap. Okay, that's got him a little bit better. Okay, now he's starting to think food a little bit more. First, third tap, you get a feeding response that way. But this isn't working because we have the snake out in the open. It's looking at me as a predator and it's not looking to eat. So this is when I'm going to do a constant pressure on the nose and then try to track with the animal. I'm going to do a mixture of side to side. I'm going to track with him. Constant pressure, constant pressure. There it is. There's a feeding response. Okay, so we took that animal from being defensive and everything else and not wanting to eat. We used a combination of the different basic methods to elicit a feeding response. I did a body tap, which was mostly for demonstration purposes. I did a side to side. It kind of hypnotizes them. And then I did a constant pressure to the nose, and then I tracked with the animal. And that was the ticking. Now he's going back into defense mode. Remember that you have control to get these animals to eat or not. It's all in the technique. Okay, so I'm going to get this guy to think he's going to eat again. I'm going to use that same technique. Now I'm going to do a third body touch like this with a shake. This is why you want a hook available. Okay, so now in this case I'm going to bring this animal back into feeding response. So I'm going to use a combination of all these techniques. Okay, he's not going to want to hit it right off the bat and go into a response. So I'm going to track, or sorry, I'm going to do side by side. Okay, side by side. I'm going to do a body tap. That's it. The body tap worked. I didn't need to go to a constant pressure that time. If he didn't hit with the body tap, this guy's being perfect for us because I want to demonstrate all these different techniques for you. If he doesn't hit with a body tap and I can't get him to swallow, I'm going to do a constant pressure again. Okay, side by side, body tap with a little bit of a jiggle. It's almost like fishing. There it is. That's all there is to it. Alright guys, I appreciate it. Let me just recap real quick. This covers just the basic feeding techniques with our product, with Reptilinks. There's so many different things that you can do. These are the methods that I've come up with over the past 25 years of my experience. Link orientation is important. You want to point the link at the animal. Get a straight shot, shorten the striking distance. Side-by-side technique works really well to kind of get them into that feeding mode. a first third body tap, and then constant pressure on the nose with tracking, where you kind of stay with the movement of the animal. When you're feeding larger animals, it's important to have a quick release on the tongs as well, because you don't want them to hit that link and then tear back on it when you're still holding on to it. You know, you don't want the link damaged in that way. So these are the basics. In our next segment, I'm going to jump into some of the other transition methods if you can't get an animal to take right away. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you next time.